Go ahead and get started. Join us in the class.
And the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And a reminder to others, there's a sign up sheet in the back for those that may want to speak. Speak up.
Do you have a microphone?
There's no microphone? Do you have a microphone?
Who might want to ask questions, speak, or make statements during the open forum. For those who are participating in the Zoom, please hold your questions until the open forum session.
Can you speak louder? We can't hear.
We're all.
Sorry.
Usually 5 people here. So sorry.
Yeah, all right. We're not used to this great big group.
Yeah.
Madam Secretary, establish a forum
Dennis Brown,
here.
Maureen Walsh here, Don Harmon,
Here.
myself, Barry Gardner,
Here.
Bill Hines,
Here.
Brooks Marsh,
Present.
Chris May,
Here.
Shane Gwen.
Here.
We are all here.
Thank you.
Secretary report for
I'd like to make a motion to approve the February POA meeting minutes.
I'll second.
We have a motion and second. All in favor? All opposed? Treasurer's report, Don.
All right, this is for the month of February. Income was still high. We 40,000 over budgeted amount on revenue. Payroll was pretty close. We were $6,000 over on golf maintenance and 2,000 on golf operation, which gave us a total of being 962 over the budget. Operating expenses were up quite a bit. They were 17,797 over budget. Also in February, capital spending, it was 50,442. That was part of it was to move the dock to D. that we were putting in the new docks. We put another one at the island there. Part of it was for fire department equipment, and 19,000 went for the new gas pumps over at the marina. Any questions overall?
Annual board elections. Board of directors encourage property owners to participate in the community through volunteerism on committees and board of directors. 3 property owners will be elected at the 2022 POA annual meeting by a majority of vote of the Fairfield Plantation property owners. POA directors are elected for a 3-year term. Although it is not easy position to hold, the board of directors are elected to carry out the business of the community, much like you elect board of commissioners or state representatives. Residents elect the board members to make the best decisions possible for the direction of the community, operating with due care in order to protect property values and the welfare of the residents. All interested candidates may pick up a board candidate application package from the POA office, obtain a copy from the POA website, which is fairfieldplantation.com, or request a package directly from the association's general manager, Allison Kennedy, by email at akennedy@fairfieldplantation.com. Completed board candidate applications and resumes must be turned into Allison Kennedy no later than 4 p.m. on Friday, May 27th, 2022. A confidential background form must be submitted directly to the independent firm, Human Assets South, in accordance with the instructions provided in the application package. Allison,
Yeah, I'd like to make a quick announcement. First of all, thank you for this great outcoming for tonight. Many times we sit here with just a handful, less than a half a dozen people, and we put in almost the same amount of work for every meeting. And to have neighbors come and get involved like this, I think it's great. And we all commented, we think it's great. So thank you very much. I just want a quick second before Allison does her presentation, just to make a personal observation. I'm sure my fellow board members share with me. What went into this meeting tonight represents hours, tens of hours, hundreds of hours of painstaking work, starting from the Budget and Finance Committee, scrutinizing each and every entry that comes in from the various committees to ask us to consider if that's going to go into our budget for this year. We would look at literally dozens of requests, and we would ask ourselves, does this add value to the community? And how does this help the population? How does this help our neighbors? So between the hours that the board put in, I also serve on the Budget and Finance Committee. I encourage you to sign up for that. Come and see what we go through. We can use your help. We can use your expertise also in that open committee. So please come. Again, I want to thank the Budget and Finance Committee and the other folks and my board members for making this night possible, and especially Dakota and Allison for all the work that they did to support us. Thank you, and thank you for coming.
Ms. Kennedy.
We're good.
Perfect, I'm good.
You want the ones on the back one? Okay.
All right, can everybody see the screen?
bear with me. My allergies are kind of making my voice crack, so hang in there with me. So this is the 2022-23 fiscal year budget. And I've got some information on here. Before, I know some of the writing's a little bit small. So these copies of this presentation will go out in the e-blast. They'll also be posted on our website, fairfieldplantation.com. And you can also request a PDF copy through email. So the budget timeline requirements, everything, without reading word for word, everything that goes into the budget is set by other governing documents, which is the Declaration of Restrictions and the bylaws. And of course, per the DOR, the assessment is due May 1st of every year. Okay, and this is kind of a little bit, I know it's cutting off a little bit, but this is a little bit of what Bill went into just a second ago of how the budget's actually put together. It starts with reviewing the operating expenses, and these are, most of these operating expenses are the ones that we cannot change. That starts with myself and all of the department heads. And then the budget's taken to the Budget and Finance Committee once we've reviewed it. And then they are looking for reviewing each line item and looking for cost savings in line items. And if for some reason we've used money in that area for 1 year, and it might not necessarily be necessary this year, we cut it. We have to add where we need to add and then subtract where we can. And then we also add the predicted income for each of the income generating departments as well. And then we take that to the Budget and Finance Committee. And then they make recommendations to the board to review. Budget and Finance typically meets 2 or 3 times a year towards starting in December and January. And then the budget goes back to the full board, or goes to the full board, where they hold several meetings and discuss the line items, the capital expenditures, and decide what's going into the reserve funding. And then, of course, moving forward, this is what we all as a group, committee, board member, individual managers, we're continuing to work with our county commissioners to help fund the fire and safety budget to reduce cost. Just last year, Fairfield received the new EMS vehicle and a fire truck. EMS vehicle was worth $75,000 as part of the board working with the county. And then we're also continuing to support lot management in their efforts to sell the POA lots. Of course, we're not gaining any assessment on any lot that POA owns. So if we get rid of one that we do own, then we're gaining additional assessments, unless, of course, it's sold to a property owner combining. And then, of course, right now we're supporting the document management efforts in the updated DOR that contains the initiation fee, which is an additional source of income, which I'll go into a little bit further. And of course, we're continuing to look for additional sources of income while cutting costs where we can. And this is a chart on how the budgeted funds come in and are dispersed, and then where they end up at if they're not spent. So revenue comes into the POA office in different forms, which is the assessment, decals, golf fees, citations, etc. Those go into the operating fund. There's also additional money that is funded, that's budgeted to fund the reserve accounts. And then money is budgeted for each of the 9 departments. Money is still budgeted for the marina and the country club, but those are just building maintenance expenses. At the end of the year, if any of these departments are, do not use their operating funds, those go to cover shortfalls in other departments. Say if one department's over on a line item, we had an extra expense that we weren't expecting. And underage will cover a shortfall, or overage in one department will cover a shortfall in another. Anything after all of that is said and done goes straight into the reserve account. And then here's this year's budget total summaries. The total budgeted expenses with the amounts that we are contributing to the reserves is $5,753,495. And then the total budgeted income, including what is being brought in by budgeted for assessments, equals that same amount. And there's no but over or short there. And then here's the budgeted revenue by department. Total budgeted income is at $1,652,595. Expenses is $5,753,495, which leaves the deficit to assess with the assessments of $4,100,900. And then this is how the assessment, the 22-23 assessment is calculated. It's the operations plus the reserve funding equals the $5,753,495 minus the budgeted income that we expect that we are budgeting to receive. And then that equals the deficit of $100,900. We divide that by budgeted paying lots. And that's, there's a formula that I use to come up with that number. And anything that's less than 5 years, we count as a paying lot. Anything over that we are still having collections, we do not count that. And that equals this year's assessment that is $1,750. And then the chart down here is the budgeted expenses without the reserve, which is in the purple. The budget expense with the reserve has the green. And then we have the budgeted income and then the amount that is left to assess. And then here's the budgeted revenue. Of course, it's being assessed. The assessment is $4,100,900. It's based on 2,343 paying lots. Each property owner will pay $1,750. And the assessment is 71% of the total budgeted revenue. That didn't change much from last year at all. Other revenue is $1,652 and, or 1 million, sorry, it's been a long day, guys. 1,652,000. I'll get it. You guys see it. Sorry. I need some water. So other revenue equals 29% of the total budgeted revenue. And the other budgeted revenue includes golf, memberships, boat decals, wet, dry, slip rentals, and etc. And then I've got the chart here by department. And of course, golf, we're bringing in a lot more in golf and admin. Both here on this chart. Let's see which colors. Okay, and here's the budgeted expenses per department. And then the percentages of the expenses here. Admins being the most expensive, or the biggest, largest percentage, I should say. And then the reserve funding and what we're putting in the reserve to pay for the rainy day fund, or to put in the rainy day fund, as well as capital projects, is the second largest. And then this is the budgeted reserve forecast. We are putting in 2.5%, which this year equals 115,951, which that money is going into what we call the no-no fund, which is the money that we purchase CDs. That is in case there is a disaster fund, which is what we have not had in the past. And so then we have what we are funding, the restricted reserve as well, or the restricted, and then we have the unrestricted capital. And what we estimate the unrestricted, or what the unrestricted funding is going to be by the end of the year, less the capital projects that are budgeted for, which we're hoping to have an estimated ending reserve balance in our CDs right here, and then our estimated reserve balance for unrestricted capital, which is this is what we use for projects. And this is the funding for this year versus last year. This year, we're funding the unrestricted reserve at 21.55%. Last year, we were funding it at 21.45%. So we have increased that a little bit. And unrestricted capital at the what we estimated for it to be at the end of the year this current year is $564,127, and then $824,769 for the CDs. And as you can see, for this year, we are budgeting for that to be much higher. And we are spending less in capital expenditures this year than what we are putting into it. And on this slide, it looks like it's cutting it off just a hair, but it tells you the difference between the restricted reserve and the non-restricted reserve. The non-restricted reserve, or what we also call the capital reserve, or sometimes just the reserve, is the money used for the capital improvements. That's the money we would use to improve this building right here. Golf course irrigation, road paving, dock replacements, etc. Sometimes the association does have larger ticket expenses, but they're technically more of a maintenance. They're not considered a capital expense, but we do sometimes budget those out of capital money so that they will stay out of the affecting the operating, which affects the assessment. And the restricted reserve has often been called the no-no money, or the emergency funds, which is money that we budget every year to purchase CDs to invest. And this year, the screen's cut off just a little bit, but this is what we are budgeting. This is the fire department. It's cut off just a little bit, but they did put in for a grant for to match. We have to match funds whenever they do, if they were to get that grant, and it's normally 3 to 5% for additional radios and bunker gear. And that amount is right here. And then we have 5 sets of bunker gear as well, which is their turnout gear that they use. This is road maintenance. This, of course, it's cut off, but road paving is $250,000. Dam repair, which is this one we had earmarked for Lake Terra to defer until next year. This is for a Kawasaki mule for our maintenance department, our road maintenance department to move around property a little bit easier. Yes. This one's got a little dump truck on it so that they can move mulch and other materials. Well, they also use a truck, so this is for smaller dumps. They also are upgrading their pull behind blower to pull these, or to clear off these side streets. They get covered in leaves and pine straw, and they've not had the manpower to keep them clear before. So we are purchasing one of those to help them out with that. We also have budgeted $50,000 to go toward a larger project. This is a deferral as well to be combined with additional capital money for dredging in certain areas of the lake, Lake Terra. The marina, we have, as many of you may know, the marina, we've got a lot of stuff going on with the gas tanks over there. We have two underground storage tanks left. The one we were using was compromised. It did not pass state inspection. It would have been more costly to repair it, to dig it up, put a new one in and put it back in the ground. So we went ahead and pulled that out and put it above ground. That is not subject to all of as many of the state rules as an in-ground tank. And that one will be covered with screening once it's complete. It was actually installed today. And then we're just waiting to get the screening to kind of get it out of view. There's two more that have not been used in at least 10 years that are there, but they're still subject for inspection of the state and any problems that could go wrong with those. So the permanent underground storage closure, instead of digging those up, they're just going to permanently seal those underground per the EPD's regulations. That's taking that liability off of our plate there for 15,500. And for golf maintenance, it's money for the irrigation, the back 9. Many of you know that we have completed the front 9. The irrigation system is over 40 years old. And we've budgeted this money to be deferred with additional money to get that project complete. And then we also purchased a new aerator and a used deep tine aerifier for the greens. These are two basic pieces of equipment that every golf course should have. We didn't have those. So those have been purchased, and that's the total for that department as well. And then here's the slide with the expenses of this year versus last year. Payroll has gone up, and the payroll department is a common misconception. This is not just salaries, and I'll explain that in another slide. But operating expenses have increased a little bit this year. So is cost of goods. Reserve spending is down from last year, and reserve funding is up, which is going into that capital account. Revenue for this year versus last year, our revenue is up. Golf operations, because the horse is rapidly improving. The sales or golf membership and daily play is up as well. And then the other departments are pretty stable. And then here's some of the challenges that we're dealing with as an association. Trying to pay off a $3.4 million loan. That was taken out whenever the flood of 2009 happened, because there was no money in the reserve account. And then we're trying to build up the restricted reserve account for emergencies, so we're not taking out another $3.4 million loan. And this is just for natural disasters in order to, avoid these additional loans. And we're also trying to fund the unrestricted reserve, which is the capital account, in order to maintain and improve POA property. Right now, we're trying to catch up on 20+ years of deferred maintenance to the amenities and infrastructure. The assessment remained too low in the past, following the purchase of the amenities in 2000, and money was not saved or allocated for long-term maintenance of the facilities. So we're also looking for additional revenue, of course, to offset these rising costs. And then curbing the increases. This year, we're making a strong push to encourage property owners of POA to vote for the consolidated and amended declaration of restrictions, which contains that initiation fee. Continuing to work with the county Board of Commissioners to receive more benefits for your tax dollars to help offset some of the association costs, and working to create a strategic plan in order to create a vision, goals, and plan to pay for long-term goals. The board encourages any property owner interested in participating in creating this strategic plan to sign up for the committee at the POA office. It has been dormant for quite some time, and it's getting going again. So if you want to get in from the ground, sign up for the committee, and we'll put you on the email chain. And of course, ongoing, we're still evaluating current contracts and rebidding to keep the association competitive. We're working with lot management on marketing and selling POA owned lots to gain new paying property owners, and continue to focus on collection efforts on these past due accounts, and maintaining the association leases and renegotiating those periodically. And this is the big question. Why did the association go up? Or why did the assessment go up? And number one is inflation. The association is not immune to inflation. Operating costs typically go up 2 to 3% every year. And this year, inflation is predicted to rise additional 12 to 15%. The association is battling post-COVID entry wages, increases in insurance due to COVID, increased material costs, along with rising gas and petroleum-based materials. And that's what I was saying. I was going to refer back. We had several positions on road maintenance and on golf maintenance that had to be filled. We were competing just like all of the other everywhere else that you saw for sale or now hiring sign. And we did have to increase what we normally offered for entry level wages. Our insurance has also gone up due to COVID. We carry several types of insurance, not just liability, but we also have property insurance. We also have D&O insurance. And lots of associations were sued last year due to COVID, people claiming that they caught COVID at an amenity or a facility like that, which caused all of the insurance companies to raise their rates. So that's something else that we are dealing with. But our insurance is brokered out and shopped every year. But even with that, it still rose $47,000. And then reserve funding. This is another reason why the assessment has gone up in the last several years. And as you see on the chart, going way back to 2013 and 2014, putting into the money that fixes the amenities and adds new amenities. In 13-14, we were only funding that account 6.91%. We were putting $219,000 in there. They were spending $298,000. 2014, 2015, only 4.48% went into that fund, which only funded that account $140,000. But $306,000 were spent out of that account. Going on up in 2015, 2016, a draw was taken from the SBA loan. The account was only funded 8.89%, putting $389,108 in there. $1.2 million was budgeted to spend. The $538,000 was used out of that SBA loan to repair for the partial dredging, to pay for the partial dredging and repair of the damage that occurred on Lake Scarlet in 2009. But this draw is now being paid back with interest on the admin budget. And as you can see, over the last couple of years where we've had the increases in assessments, it's because we're funding this account more so that we can get these projects done, fix this building, and various other things. So as you can see in the restricted reserve, which is the quote unquote no money, we didn't even have that until 2017, 2018. So no money was going back for emergencies. I think that there was two small CDs that we had, but I think they equaled 241,000 between the two of them. And then here's some of the large ticket projects that we have. We've been putting back money, so you're not seeing the money being spent throughout the community. Dam repairs. The state of Georgia is requiring us to make necessary repairs to the two Category 1 dams, which is Lake Ashley and Lake Tara. Repairs must be completed per the state within the next five years. When these repairs are complete, an estimated $860,000 plus will be spent on those two repairs. And just last Thursday, we received additional information that the state is requiring additional repairs to be made to the release gate on Lake Ashley and the bottom release gate on Lake Tara. And Lake Tara will have to be tested and possibly repaired. We know Lake Ashley will have to be repaired. We're still awaiting an estimate, but another reason why we put more into the reserve is to help fund and help pay for this work. The irrigation is the other big ticket item that we've been saving for, which is the back 9 irrigation. And due to inflation with materials, this project, when we finally get a chance to get it done, when we have enough saved up, we're looking at more than likely $525,000. And then paving, we have $250,000 budgeted for paving, and that's per contract, the minimum we can spend per the contract we have. On average, paving costs the association $17 per linear foot. And currently we can only budget the amount that we're budgeting, and that's only equates to about 2.5 miles per year. We have 50 plus miles of road. We need to increase this amount, but of course we can't afford to. And with the current oil pricing, we're not expecting for the money to go as far this year as it has in the past. And then the rec center, and this is one building that hasn't been upgraded in many of years. And it's in desperate need of a large scale renovation. With the other larger projects, this has been deferred for years. In September of 2020, the board voted to have all net profits from the POA lot sales to be earmarked in the reserve to go towards this project. If the reserves were where they should be for an association of our size, this could have very easily been completed much sooner. And then This is referring back to that initiation fee and how does passing the consolidated and amended declaration of restrictions keep assessments stable? And really it's simple. The initiation fee that is proposed in that document. If the money funding the reserve is coming from another source versus the assessment, the amount that's budgeted yearly can be decreased. So I did this slide here using a snippet from the current budget. Right now, for this year, we're funding the restricted reserve at 2.5 and the unrestricted at 21.55. The assessment ends up at 1750. If we were to be able to reduce it to 10% funding, it drops the assessment down to 1522. But we have to have that extra money coming in. Had the initiation fee been in place since it was originally proposed in 2016, set at half the annual assessment, we would have had added an approximately $1.1 million to the reserve. Just this current fiscal year from May 1st of 2021 to, and I think I ran the report through February, 225 properties have changed hands. The association thus far has missed out on approximately $185,625 just this fiscal year, with 2 months more to go. So if this additional income was coming in from incoming property owners, then we could decrease the amount funding the reserve from current property owners' assessments. Okay. And then here's the FAQs. I'm still getting asked this question a lot, so I went ahead and left it on here from last year's slide. Where's the money saved from the leasing out the country club restaurant? The association subsidized the country club restaurant. Income was budgeted based on historical revenue, and then the income that was budgeted offset the operating expenses, although it was never enough to cover the operating expenses. The association budgeted to lose money there. Some of the loss was absorbed by unused operation funds that would normally roll into the reserve at the end of the year from other departments, but the bulk of the loss came from the reserve. In fiscal year 2021, an additional 8%, approximately $312,000 was added to the reserve by not carrying the restaurant. That's when we leased the restaurant out mid-year. And then just for an example, in 2019-2020 fiscal year, the restaurant lost $258,000. Will the assessment continue to go up? Answer is that unless additional income is added due to the rising cost and inflation, yes. If the initiation fee is passed with the new DOR, additional money would be added to the reserve at no cost to the current residents. And this is the only way to keep the additional increases down in the assessment stable. And then another question we get asked a lot is, why is the association's payroll so high? And it's Fairfield's like a small city. We currently employ 56 employees. The payroll group on the budget is not just salaries, it's anything pertaining to employees, such as payroll taxes, benefits, workers' comp insurance, drug testing, background checks, etc. We've also dealt with what I was speaking of earlier, which is the post-COVID entry wages exploding, and had to increase the starting wages in order to be competitive with other places and to fill vacant positions. Why is the assessment increasing without seeing change? The board has been deferring or earmarking money in previous budgets and the current budget in order to pay for these larger projects. In the current fiscal year, before this new one starts, the board has already deferred $395,500, and $135,000 was earmarked for the golf course irrigation, and another $260,500 for dam repairs. To date, there has been a total of $673,000 set aside for these two projects. The association cannot afford to add any new amenities or make any drastic changes until the larger projects are completed. And another question I get a lot is, why is the admin operating budget so high? And the admin budget covers most of our largest expenses, such as the SBA loan and the association insurance. The SBA loan and interest alone just this year is $191,520, and our insurance is $207,610. And then just this year, of course, our insurance has increased by $47,000. And so I have the appendix, and then this is just kind of the different sections of the budget that makes up the total operating budget, which is income, cost of goods, payroll expenses, and operating expenses. And then these are the 9 departments that make up the budget. Okay. And that's all I have for that. Now, like I said, this presentation will be available at the POA office, or you can email me. And then we're also going to send it out in a blast email, and it will be available on our website as well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Started. So, Fairfield, 71.
Thank you, Alex.
She put a lot of work into this, and a lot of work coming up with the budget anyway. It's been a month after month after month, working in progress, several months now. And I really give her a big thank you for all of that.
We should give her an applause.
Old business, I'd like to make a motion to reaffirm and approve the electronic vote that we took for the tax sale purchase of the lot at 3238 Lakeview Parkway, not to exceed $3,500.
We have a motion, Dave. Here a second.
I say,
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? New business. Wait till after the meeting.
Yes. Well, do you want to explain any of these as far as that motion? As far as the tax vote, just so that they have a better
oh, yeah.
explanation.
I can tell you a little bit about it. John Collins, which helps us on lot management, found out that there'd be a tax sale on a lot, which we own one on each side. So she got it for $2,500, wasn't it, Alice?
No, it's, yeah, $2,600 is how much it ended up being.
But anyway, it's gonna be a combination so that we can sell them, because some of these lots that we're starting to get into are just not really good buildable lots for the size houses we want on them. And so we've done real good with lot sales over the past year. We put a lot of money into the rec fund, and so this is one that lot management recommended that we could, if we could get it, that we just take it at what the taxes were owed. And Allison took care of it.
Yes, for us to resell.
Yeah, it's gonna be a resale. We're not keeping it. We don't want no more to keep.
Need a motion and a second to approve the 2023 fiscal year budget.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
So we're gonna reallocate some funds for the basketball, pickleball lights. I'd like to make a motion to reallocate $16,000 originally budgeted for lights at the basketball pickle courts to be used to improve the parking area instead.
I have a motion, good. I need a second.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Budget 13,000 for your mule.
We'll have discussion after the meeting
I figured.
during the open forum, like we always do. Marion.
Now.
We did, now we're going to the calendar.
Okay. I need a motion and a second to approve 2150 to be compliant with 2600 donations from the LGA and MGA to purchase 18 cameras for the golf course, as well as an additional 7 to be used in other areas of the association where it's
Could you
currently
speak up?
do not
Please
have
speak
coverage.
up. We can hear.
Can't hear you. Yeah, I guess this morning you can have one microphone. My mama will.
Okay, I can't hear you either, but
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of cameras for the golf course.
This is a joint effort between the LGA and MGA to buy cameras because of vandalism on the golf course. They're funding part of it and we're matching their funds so that we can keep better track of the golf course.
Men's Golf Association and Ladies Golf Association donated $2,600. So we're adding to that $2,150 expenditure to shore up our properties against ongoing man.
all right, I have a motion. I need a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Lot management.
All right, I make a motion that we sell 1414 North Gate Drive.
I'll make-
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion.
I have a
He made
motion.
the motion.
I'll second.
What section is that in?
14.
14.
14.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Section 1.
All opposed? Next.
Make a motion that we sell 3294 Lakeview Parkway.
Second motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Make another motion that we sell 5090 and 5092 Cumberland Court.
I make a second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Earl, do you want to talk about?
Yeah, okay. Rather than talking about the DOR, which I seem to be talking about every day every month for the past 3 years, I want to talk about strategic planning. You heard Allison mention a lot about these deferred projects that we're putting money against, things that have to be done in the future. They're quite big projects. What we want to do is prioritize these projects so we go ahead and fund them and implement them in a logical manner that makes sense and hopefully saves money. To do this, we need a strategic plan. We've worked on this in the past. It kind of fell dormant through the COVID period because we didn't have any meetings, but we're going to re-energize the strategic planning committee. This is your chance to get on a committee that's going to hopefully set the future of Fairfield for at least the next 5 years. A strategic plan, as you know, is usually a 5-year plan. You have your current year and 4 out years, and then every year you relook at it and things shift down. The next year comes the current year and everything shifts down. And you put a new one out there at the end of the 5th year and you plan your projects along the line. The thing I like to use is you don't put a hedge in, next year tear it out, put it in a parking lot, and the year after that, tear it out, put a building in. You think about what you're going to do, you do it, and it makes sense. The only way to do that is to have a plan. So this committee is going to be reactivated. We hope to have a meeting in the month of April. If you're interested, please sign up. with Allison at this meeting here, or go to the POA office and put your name and email number down there. And myself or Brooks Marsh will be getting in touch with you, and we'll set this committee up and get a plan for Fairfield that makes sense. I really solicit your help. Come and join us. Thank you.
Mr. President, may I add to that?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I guess residents of Fairfield and honorable board members, this is really, as Allison said, a small community. We have an operation, about 5,000 people, 2,400 lots. And so although we're not a municipality, we are really a small community. We have public safety, fire protection. We have a lake and a dam. As you can see, it's millions of dollars in the next few years to perform the maintenance sustainment requires us to do our roads, our amenities, and all those things need to be managed in a very detailed financial way. I was able to join the board with a past experience in running both real estate businesses and retail businesses for a number of years. And so I have a great passion for this, to work with Barry in leading this committee. When we set the path where we're going to go, we really have to look at every detail and say, what do we want, what don't we want? And look at where our dues are going to go, because we should be able to project our dues for the next 5 years. And so we can look at everything and say, is this worth raising our dues for or not? Because I can tell you, with things as they are, operating the way they are right now, our dues are going to go up. Inflation the next 2.5 years, because of the world situation, is not going to be just 15% next year. It's going to be for at least 2.5 years. So this financial look, I would join Barry and say, join with us. Let's look at this thing and say, what should our path be? Because we'll have some tough decisions to make, but this is our community, our non-municipality, municipality, and I hope that we get as much participation as possible. And we look forward to doing that. Something I was very good at I can't say I'm good at very much, but one thing I was very good at was a very detailed look at finances. I'm a strong believer. If you cut enough nickels, you'll save a lot of dollars. And that's the way we got to look at this. Because while there are a couple of places where we may have low-hanging fruit in our budget, there's really not many. It's going to be looking at the detail and attacking the detail and working on it together. And sometimes not having things the way you want it or you want it, but something that's good for all of us, because we say, here's what's going to make us sustainable in the future without our dues doubling, because that's what we're looking at in the next 5-10 years if we don't really attack this thing. So I really laud Barry for pushing this issue, and I happily join with him.
We don't have committee reports. So he has it. All right, I need a motion and a second to adjourn.
Motion adjourned, Mr. President. Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're going to start the open forum here in a minute.
No committee reports.
No, it's not.
Usually quarterly we do a circle.
There's a 2-minute limit set for each person wishing to speak. Unused minutes will not be given to other persons to use. Please understand, no derogatory or out of order remarks are permitted during this meeting. The open forum is intended for the orderly and productive interaction with you and your board of directors. The board will try to answer your questions if possible, but sometimes it is not possible until we have gathered more information or the correct information. In the case that we cannot answer your question in this forum, if you allow management to have your contact information, we will follow up with you with the answer to the best of our ability. The same rules will apply for those wishing to speak via Zoom. Bill Knight.
Good evening. I've got just a couple of quick things to comments and then one answer that I think the board can give us tonight. One of my 2 questions. For people on the board, all the 2 of you that live in Fairfield, are y'all looking forward to future dues increases? You won't. You won't.
Do we want?
No.
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 For those of us out here, do we want future dues increases?
No.
So we're all in the same boat. I mean, these are residents, just like we're residents. If you go through and you read the blogs on the different websites, you get a distinct feeling of us versus them, and that's not the case. We're all in this together. We should all be paddling in the same direction. one of the things that keeps coming up on the blogs is you gotta get rid of the board. Well, there was an announcement tonight. You have an opportunity coming up to get rid or re-elect 3 of them. So don't miss that opportunity. Instead of just, making pointed remarks at them, that they're all lining their pockets with gold. And get involved on the committees and step up and get involved on the board. And I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alice Martin.
Simple question. On our website, the declaration of restrictions, they're very old. Is that another copy would have been, I guess, retyped and written more clearly?
Yeah,
Well, we can tell you about that.
That's it, huh?
That document's 50 years old.
I see that, and it
Yeah.
looks that.
When I started on this thing, I had a lot of hair. The thing is, we've got it updated, the revised DOR. I'll get you a copy. I'll even deliver it. It's been revamped, rewritten, all those changes and stuff taken out. It actually reads like something you can read. So that's what we're trying to pass. It's readable. That makes it easier to defend if we have to defend it in any kind of court. And second, it does include this alternate revenue source that we really need. So I'll get you a copy. Thank you.
And it's just going on from there. It's sad to me that we can't even reach a quorum. We're not saying that everyone's gonna vote yes or vote no, but we can't reach a quorum. So we're leaving money on the table. A lot of people are not happy, and yet you have the chance to do something yourself just by reading it, making a decision, and submitting. Thank you.
Carol Evans.
That would be me. Nice to actually put faces with names here. Hi, Marie. I just want to quickly say, I totally agree with the gentleman who spoke first. Like you, I see an awful lot of complaining on all of our discussion boards. My point in being here this evening was, and I had a huge presentation, but I will not let it, I'm not gonna make y'all stay that long. I will send it out. I'll put it on one of the boards so you folks can read it. We don't get to complain if we don't offer a solution and we don't get involved. And that is the bottom line here. Okay, these folks represent, how many of you have been on the board for multiple terms? Probably most of you.
I've been on 6 years.
Okay, see,
1.5.
1.5.
we need to refresh these folks. We need to make new board members come on in with fresh new ideas even. I would like to suggest too, formation of a new committee to address things like the complaints that we see online, to research solutions to these problems and not just, gripe about it and move on. We need to have people who are willing to sacrifice time, effort, and energy to get involved. We need a source of revenue, more sources of revenue. Let's put our heads together as a community of residents to see how we can help these folks. Maybe someone has a great idea for a new resource for income. Great, let's investigate it and see if we can implement it. And then on the quick side, let me go through, because like I said, this is huge. I timed myself at 10 minutes. I won't make you folks wait that long. These are the concerns that have come up with a lot of folks who, my neighborhood and my neighbors, and a few other folks that have put forward. Safety, break-ins into cars, vandalism, all of that. And there's some gals in here who are really concerned about their own personal safety for their own personal reasons. We need to take a look at that and see if we can't do better. Changing how the assessments are made. I have an idea of how to raise revenue with, yes, some higher end property owners might have to pay a little more, but some of these ideas that have been thrown to me, and one of my own, is billing people who do not live in here who use our amenities. They should have to pay a yearly membership fee whether they live here or not just come in and play golf for whatever price they're being charged. You're going to come in here and use our golf course and you don't live in here. That's me. Real quickly, more effective ways to keep folks informed. I'm so sorry. We need to have something like block captains, section captains, to get the word out to everybody that we have issues. And so we can get to that quorum. And everybody knows they need to vote on the issues and what they are. A lot of this stuff has already been answered that I was going to bring up. Can we please get a community org chart to find out who we need to talk to? I'm relatively new here and I am completely dumbfounded as to who I need to talk to. Poor Allison, I've been her ear repeatedly.
And I can answer any question.
Okay, I will be happy to put the time in to do that. And please, how many folks here are going to offer to be on some of these open committees with me? Come on, we're here squawking.
You need to start with the POA office first, I believe.
Right, I'm just saying, let's see, I show hands to let these folks know we're willing to actually commit.
Well, we're actually to take some pressure off of them.
Absolutely. Thank you so
That's
much.
my-
Thank you, Carol.
that's
Thank you.
My reason.
Thank you.
And thank you for getting everyone here. We really appreciate it.
Anita Wright.
Okay, I'm Anita Wright. My voice is a little crackly from recovering from COVID, so if you'll excuse that. But Fairfield is not like it was when I moved here in 2002. It's looking very shabby and deteriorated. Coming down from Woodmont to where I live in Fernport, the cul-de-sac looks like a mud puddle. And it's looked like that for about 3 years now. And I have brought it up. And then the concrete around it is all cracked and broken. We've had a lot of building going on in that area. So there's a lot of mud. And so when you write us up for a dirty driveway, we're driving through mud down into our driveway. We might not come home once, we might come home 2 or 3 times. And my backyard took a microblast terribly. And it was like a tornado. We were on the Channel 2 news about 2 o'clock in the morning, wasn't it? So there was a tree that had its roots in the lake. And I did talk to Barry about it, and it uprooted. I've got pictures of that great big root ball, and tore up my leg at the bank of my lake, which actually that land belongs to the POA. Apparently, I'm told, so I have to have permission if I do anything to it. But I didn't get any help with it when my bank was torn up totally. And that's basically what I wanted to talk about. And I would like to see some more beautification because it's looking very shabby everywhere right now. Thank you.
Stephanie Baldy.
Several months ago, I voiced my concern about the corporations that were coming in and buying up homes to rent. You said you were gonna look into it, and I just wanted an update as to know.
So, well, do you want to do it? Well, so, what we're saying is this would require a DOR vote. And what we wanted to do is not confuse people and send out another one while we still had one out there. So we wanted to close that one out and then look to do another one that would address that concern. So I'm sorry, I apologize that it's taken this long. We never thought it would take this long to close out a DOR vote, but that's what we're trying to do is reach a quorum and then we can.
All right, but
address-
you're still aware of.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it's something we would love to get to.
Right now, basically, the concern is.
You know how many homes they
Okay.
are?
So explain.
We actually can't send out a new vote until this one's done, because if this one passes, that's gonna be an amendment to this DOR. If this one does not pass, then it's gonna be an amendment to the old DOR.
Right,
So
but you know how many homes they have for?
How many they bought, I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to look that up.
There are 2 just on our street.
Yeah.
Just
And
on our
just
street.
real quickly, I just want to know, there's so much building going on now. What are the builders responsible for once they finish building and leave? Because a lot of times they're leaving a mess behind.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know, what are they responsible for?
The mess, they are supposed to clean up the street. They're not supposed to leave any mud in the street. And by the time that they leave, are you talking about a daily, or are you talking about when the house is finished? When they're finished, typically they have to cut the road, and that's a water line cut.
Yeah.
Those once that they are filled in with gravel, that gravel has to pack down before we can pave it. And fill in that hole, and that's typically our responsibility unless it's a large cut, and then it's the water authority. But the wait time is most of the time getting that area packed down. Because if we have had areas, and Monticello was a good example, where we had dips open up, so it's all, that's because the packing was not allowed to settle long enough before it was paved over.
Right. Well, like when Anita talked about her cul-de-sac, I mean, they tore that thing up. It's horrible, and I really agree with her. And they didn't put back anything, they didn't fix anything.
I'll have
Terrible.
to check as far as with that, whether or not that's on the list for road paving. If it's a large area, it would have to be paved by the payers.
Well, it makes me ashamed when my visitors come, because I think they might live in, I might live in third world country the way it looks. So.
Well, I can say that the property control committee is very aware of this, and we hold builders' feet to the candles on making sure that they maintain a safe and neat and orderly build site at all times. And we have a representative here, Thomas, who goes out and regularly patrols these things, and warnings, usually fines, are immediate for them breaking the rules and regulations. So we watch this and we're aware of it. If you see a site that we're not aware of, send the email into the property control office, send it to Thomas's attention, to the committee will get it simultaneously, and we will react on it within that week.
Well, I did report it the last meeting, and it's been like that for about 3-4 years now. And you drive the road coming around to one's driveway, it's totally broken up and cracked and looks straightforward. Repaving.
Wow. Is there anybody online?
Because there's somebody scratched out.
Must have been me. I just want to make one comment. I heard some very good positive notes referencing if you pass the DOR, if you are for the initiation fee. I'm not sure that I recall hearing that if you've already voted, you're done. But if you have not voted and you forgot if you did or not, you can check with the POA and you can get a new vote and handle it, and they'll check the records and handle it there. So that anybody that not certain, hey, go to the POA, check, and you can vote.
Take you about 2 minutes to do it, and we'll hand you a new ballot, and it'll be sent into the auditors by you.
Right.
Yes, that is audited by the auditors. They're handling all of those, and they are just sending us an updated list on property addresses that have voted. We don't know how they voted. We just know whether that ballot was received. So.
Excuse me, Allison. Am I understanding correctly that if people would like to change their vote before we get to quorum, that is possible also?
Yeah, if you send in one vote one way and you want to change it, they accept the last ballot received. In the same way, if previous, we've had a lot of, with the housing market, a lot of houses that have changed hands. If a previous owner had already voted, but a new owner comes in, they take the last vote for the property while the vote is open.
Do you know what % has been voted or been received?
I don't have an updated number on that. I know we the last time I checked, we were still 67 votes short of a quorum. As far as that's just quorum, we don't, like I said, I don't know how those votes were voted.
So less than half have bothered to send it in.
Any other questions?
I have one, I'm not signed up, but can I ask it?
That's all right.
So, on these houses, and I'm thinking of a specific house, I believe it to be a rental house. And who is who's responsible for making sure it's cleaned up? I mean, if their landlord lives in New York State, you know, junk and, oh, it's horrible. You know, the one in there on the way to your house. Who's responsible?
That is the property owner, and those are cited. Unfortunately, a lot of times they're not rental houses, they're property owner houses.
Okay.
The rental companies, a lot of them do upkeep the house, but whenever we send a property control letter to one of those houses, it goes to the tenant and it does go to the property owner as well.
Who is responsible for making sure they do it? I mean, I got a letter about raking my leaves, which I did rake. And then to see this house with all the cars and all the junk and the trash, it's been there for what, 5, 6 years?
And it doesn't mean they're not getting fined. But it doesn't mean that they're not getting fines. I mean, they.
My question is, who's responsible? Has some of the
Property
you guys not be responsible for cleaning it up?
The
Property owner.
We can't trespass. It's a property owner's responsibility.
So you guys can do nothing then.
So I just said that we're fining them. And, you know, sometimes it's daily fines, sometimes it's monthly fines, and then we are, you know, possibly going into litigation. You know, we can't tell anybody what's going on.
Okay,
I
well,
mean,
after being
Suspend-
there 5 or 6
suspending
years,
their
I would think
gatekeep.
you should be in litigation by now. I think that's the point. Y'all are not doing anything. If
I
it
can
has to
disagree
be in
with you.
litigation, then put it in litigation.
Yeah, I disagree with you. that
It
we're not
could
doing
be,
anything.
we just.
Well,
we could
fine,
say
it's
it's
one thing,
litigation,
but you
but we
can't
don't
force them to
advertise
pay.
that. And we also report things to the county for the county codes officers to take care of as well, which.
It's not being done.
I can't talk about an individual lot, but I can tell you that county codes came out here today.
Like I said, this has been 4 or 5 years, so if you have to go in litigation and take them to court, then do it. To clean the place up.
Any other questions?
As far as the alternative source of income, the initiation fee is really the only possible source that we have. Unless we're gonna form a committee and do a lemonade stand out of the entry. But there just isn't there are no other sources. And like you saw in the presentation, had it been passed, first presented, it was $1,000,007, $1,000,003.
$1,003,000 right now.
That would have accomplished. And the other thing on the rental properties, it's not just Fairfield, it's all over the United States.
But I'm only concerned with Fairfield, where I live.
I understand-
We are too.
I understand that, but
And
it's
some
not,
places
it's
been
not a
done
local,
for 4 or 5
it's
years.
not a local problem.
Something should be done.
It's not a local problem. The big hedge funds, it's big banks, it's all over. And I've been in real estate 52 years and I read a lot of periodicals about it and things that are going on. And it's a problem all over.
They not have a say so about these corporations buying this stuff up and then allowing Section 8 to come in here and rent? Do we not have anything in our bylaws?
We can't do anything about that because of the Fair Housing Act. So no, we don't. Under the Fair Housing Act, we cannot stop that. No subdivision in the United States can stop that.
Can we limit the amount of percentage of a unit that we can rent out?
That's what we just
That's
said.
what we're trying to
Change
do.
the declaration of
We're trying to
restrictions
do
change.
that.
That would go in the declaration of restrictions, cap on what percentage of rentals in the
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Can you stand up, please? We can't hear you.
Okay, I'll try again. That has to go in the declaration of restrictions. You can put in there a cap on the amount of or percentage of rentals you can have in the area. But we can't put that in the DOR until we get this other one cleared up. We got to get that one voted, either passed or not, but out of the way. Then we can put an amendment. But believe me, folks, it makes no sense to put an amendment on a 50-year-old document. Let's get this other one approved So we get initiation fee, you get a document you can work with, and then we can pass a short amendment to that document and get that in there. But until we get it in our declaration, there's no rule against it right now. We're screwed. To put it bluntly.
And please carry that information to your family members, friends, and neighbors as well. Share with them. If they have any questions, come to the office and ask, and pick up the ballot and make a decision. Send it to the auditor.
The other key to getting that done, the importance of getting it done, is as these rental companies get a larger percentage of our community homes, they have a larger percentage of the votes, what happens here. And so they can change that so it would never pass. So it's very important we get that DOR passed.
Quick question to follow up on that. I have been a victim of a corporate landlord before I moved in here, and I have horror stories if anybody wants to know, like rats. And yeah, all kinds of, no heat, okay. Long story short, do we have any way to limit the number of unrelated people who live in one household? Because one of the things they were doing, say the rent was $2,500. Well, they would put 4 or 5 families in that one home who were not, they might even be distantly related, but likely not.
Not really, also under the Fair Housing Act.
Okay.
The federal government doesn't let you make regulations about who can live in a home, who makes up a family, what the definition of family is.
Gotcha. Okay.
We can't ask.
Yeah, that.
With their 7 cars.
Yeah.
Especially with another vehicle.
So what does our POA be covering? I thought.
Hang on.
They still do timeshare here?
Yes.
So timeshare? Heard something about it's going away or eliminated.
Well, one of the timeshare developments is selling, but there's still a couple of others.
Right, I have a question. I'm wondering, is there any procedure or method where you know who has voted? You have a record of the people who have voted for the DOR. Is there a method to contact those who have not yet voted to say, we're waiting?
I'm knocking on doors just about every day
We've all done it.
and
I've taken on. my-
stopping when neighbors are walking their dogs and asking them if they did or didn't. And we're all doing
Let me
that.
dive in.
Yeah.
The gentleman to the end of your row there, Les Supple, he's on the document management committee with me. And there's only 4 of us on this committee. And the 4 of us have gone around and went to people who have not yet voted and encouraged them to vote. We've done that. Members of the board have done that. We've challenged the board members to go out and try to get 10 each, just to try to get some momentum going on this. You know, like I've said many times before, I think 3 months ago, I held up the word apathy. And that was what I'm just troubled with here. We don't even bother to vote. And that's kind of bad news. So we've encouraged people to do it. We go out, we know who have not voted, and we're going to those locations and saying, please vote. If you don't have a ballot, go to the PO office and get one.
But have you contacted them specifically? By name?
Yeah, I'm just saying, yeah, we're either calling them or knocking on doors and telling them that we are aware of the fact that they haven't voted. Of course, there's a conspiracy theory here in Fairfield. We haven't voted. They think the board's in the middle of this. We're not. As Allison said, there's an independent auditor in Atlanta. The votes go there. They tell us the number of people who have voted. And then we also said, okay, who has not voted? So we're getting them by house number. So we know which house has not voted. We're going to that house as much as we can to try to encourage those residents to get out and vote. So we are doing it.
Can we take them a ballot?
No.
No.
Yeah,
They have to go to the office to get the ballot. We can't touch the ballot if it doesn't go in. We can't touch it. We can't even mail it for them. They've got to take the ballot and mail it on their own.
Where do we get it?
Front office,
Front office,
POA office.
POA office.
Just bring your ID and they'll give you one of those.
So, I have another question if no one else is talking. I would get fined very heavily for tree stumps, wouldn't I? That's what you do. Right, I had the microbites hit my backyard, and I had thousands of trees cut down.
I got an idea, you know, the electronic sign we had up front. Why couldn't we put on that sign to remind people
it's imperative that you vote for the DOR. Watch that for a while, and maybe that'll cut down on knockouts and saving your numbers.
We had it on there for a
We had it
while.
on there.
It goes out in e-blasts. It's been
E-blast,
on-
countless
We're gonna keep working on.
We're gonna keep working.
We're gonna, we're
We're gonna knock
gonna get
that
this through.
down.
On the front of the communication to the press, I talked about, free money. There's $1 million laying out there that we lost. I said, here was a chance to do it. So we have been pushing this, short of grabbing somebody by the ear, taking them down the scale off, let them put X in that box. I'm frustrated, to be honest with you.
Oh, I can imagine that, and
It's just
also,
But I wasn't
like the initiation fee. Something else that I know of, this, in the last year.
Well, I mean, when it comes to see if they crack down on
So anybody's got any new questions?
I have a new question, which is that we always see, whenever we get a report on the budget, it just says administration. That's very vague. And people may take it as it's a very high line item, that people might take it that we don't know what that includes. Could we get something published or something on the website showing what
It's
that
on there.
includes?
It's on there. What's,
No, it's not. It's not broken down.
by category? I mean, obviously, we can't release.
I mean, I don't want like this person's wages or something like that, but you could put like office supplies. I don't know, rental of building rental, whatever it might be.
It wasn't there as far as insurance.
Well, it's broken down into 3 categories.
There's only 3 categories in
Well, it's
administration.
Payroll, all departments are broken down the same way. It's income, if there's income on that budget, income, payroll, and then operating. Those 3 sections. So we normally just group those 3 together. But if I'd be happy to meet with you one day if you wanted to look at it a little bit closer, I'd be happy.
That would be nice. I mean, I'd welcome it. Just so everyone can just be transparent and say, okay, well, that makes sense. Why it's a very high line item. It's not a problem. We don't know. Because we're not the ones taking care of it. And it's not line item whatsoever. It's not broken down enough for the average person to say, this is what's going where.
All right.
Insurance is very vague.
Well, thank you all for coming. Wait a minute, we got one more question. One more, that's it.
Okay. Could you tell us a little bit more details about the boat tours that are going to be taking place this summer?
They're not doing that.
No, that's been scrapped.
They're not doing that.
Like
to
do the $2,000.
Thank you. All right, thank you for coming.